What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new episode of Mini Customs. That's right, we're finally working on the Manco Big Cat again. Where I left off, I know I left a lot of stuff out. We finally tore it completely down to the point where now we are starting to put new pegs onto this. If you remember the old Manco Big Cat, it used to have a bracket that sat right here with a peg that came underneath. It was a terrible design. So what we ended up actually doing was creating a concept where it'd become flush with the frame, where if you look, it actually levels out with the frame. And that's what I was aiming for. I want something that's underneath, and this being a 7/8 outer diameter, we're gonna be able to use the same kind of pegs that we get on, like, say, the Little Rascal or the Rascal, doesn't really matter which one. So what I'm gonna end up doing is, I already got this one pretty much, you know, fish mouthed here and welded all the way in. I'm gonna end up doing the exact same thing, because as you can tell, there's a gap. This was only a temp for now, terrible welding setup and stuff like that going on. So what I'm gonna do is set up the welder, get that all cut up, and start mounting that into place. So I hope you guys like that. Let me know what you guys think. We'll be working on that, and then we'll be slowly moving on to plugging up some of the holes this frame's got. Not holes, but pretty much pipes that are open. We're gonna seal shut so that when we powder coat again, it's gonna be clean. That's what I'm aiming for. So let me get everything set up, and we'll get to work on grinding and cutting and all that fun stuff. Now we're gonna just go ahead and start grinding. I cannot tell you how much I tell everybody, please wear safety equipment when doing this kind of stuff. This isn't like using like an impact or something like that, where you know, safety glasses are required, but when it comes to like welding, grinding, all that, please wear gloves, and for the love of God, please wear a face helmet. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen people get hurt over something stupid, including me not paying attention. I have once or twice literally cut my fingers with grinders, not paying attention to the angle and stuff like that. Please wear your safety equipment, okay? But for right now, let's get to cutting. Alright, so as of right now, as you saw, we already cut off the peg that still needs to be fish mouthed and basically mocked up to actually be put on here. So the whole idea is, and I'll bring you in on what we did, is basically we just cut off this pipe, which is going to be the new peg. We're going to clean it up and fish mouth the ends, basically, or one end. We're going to fish mouth this end, so it literally mates to this tube, and then it could be welded nice and secure all the way around. And then when we get that right, we'll mock up where it'll land on the pipe on this side, fish mount that, and then you'll pretty much end up with this. And this is what we want. We want nice and level, right with the tubing, and basically to be able to weld all the way around, but also at the same time have it flush with the bottom of the frame. The whole point is to get rid of the access underneath, or the extra travel that's underneath, is basically what I'm trying to do. Because of the old flanges and how small the tire was and how low to the ground it sat, it made turning really difficult. It would like to hit the ground. Since we're basically putting a bigger size tire and front end onto this, it should raise this almost 3 to 4 more inches. So it actually, by the time everything's done, should be really nicely rideable. So that's why we went with the Honda ATC 250 ES front end, or Big Red, is because the ride height on it, for one, the shock absorbers plus the brakes, it just made it an all-around perfect front end to put on here. So I'm gonna get to cleaning this up, all these welds, and then you can check that out right now, and then we'll pretty much start fish mouthing the pipe, start getting that into place, and then we'll just do it from there. All right. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead. I have a 60 grit flapper wheel basically on the grinder. That's what we're gonna use to grind off all this stuff, get it nice and clean again. And then we'll go ahead and start basically fish mouthing the one end at least. And it's a very subtle curve, so you're not gonna go crazy on it. It shouldn't take me long to do. And then basically we'll do it to the other side, and then we'll bust out the welder, weld it up, get it all straightened out, and go to town on it. And that should be the end of the peg problem that we're having. And then I'm waiting on a package from Go Power Sports that should be coming in this week. That will, once this is all powder coated, it will have the rubber grips as you see on like the Little Rascal or even the Rascal. So basically we're gonna be doing that kind of concept. So I'm gonna put this in the time lapse, do this real quick, and you'll see exactly what we're doing. All right, so as you can see, we finally got it all nice and clean. I'll come in for a zoom on that one. It's all nice and clean now. There's no bulked up welds or anything like that. So basically what we're gonna be doing now is going ahead and getting the pipe fish mouth, as I call it. That's what it is basically, basically what we're gonna be doing is taking the pipe and curving it to the actual pipe that it's gonna be mating with, so that like when you actually put it up here, it should actually kind of curve over this existing pipe. So then we can get a nice full weld all the way around, and it'll be solid to it. It's not gonna have so much not welded up. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up the best I can, and then I'm gonna start going ahead and fish mouthing it, and hopefully we'll get that done today. All right, so we got everything pretty much set up. All I'm doing now is swapping my helmet over from grind mode into weld. We got the welder all set up. We're gonna tack it in place, make sure everything's good where I like it. I have magnets and levels kind of holding everything in place, and then basically we'll make sure everything's level the way I want it to be. As far as I can tell, everything seems to be where it needs to be, and we're gonna just run it from there and see what happens. So hopefully this goes good. I'll see you on the other side. Peace. Alright, so we finally got this side all done. We're going to be flipping this around shortly, but I'm going to get what's left on the other side that I really didn't finish over here. I'm going to end up flipping this frame over, and then we're going to actually weld the other side up, so then that'll be done. And basically we should be pretty much good for going to the next step, which is going to be the kickstand. That is the next step in this process, where we're going to be extending that about 5 to 6 inches. So it's actually going to meet up right here behind the pegs, and it's almost gonna sit almost level with this bar. So this entire thing is gonna be moved up and then extended so that it'll hold up the front end. So that is what we're doing. So let me finish tacking this up or getting this welded up, and then we will move on to the next part of it, and that'll be flipping it over, welding the other side. A lot better. Alright. Like that. We'll clean that one up. I was still working with the welder back on the other one, so basically I'm just trying to hone it in for something that's that thick or whatever, but once I can grind it down and make it look pretty, you'll never know, but looks good. So let me get to flipping the frame. I'll weld the other side, and then we will move on with this project, and I will give you a heads up on what we're doing next on this project. All right, so we finally got them all the way welded up. They look great. I might you know, clean it up here and there, but in the sense of it being fully welded to the frame, it is. I like how it came out. It came out very even. It came out about 6 inches on each side, which is about half a foot, which is actually half a foot. One came out a little longer than the other, which I don't really mind. It's going to get cut down more than likely anyway. But altogether, having this new peg set up where it's actually flush with the bottom of the frame, I think is actually going to help out quite a bit, especially since we're kind of bringing them in and we're rising them up a little bit. That should actually help dramatically on the ride for this. The next thing that we'll be working on is the front end, where we're going to be cutting off a few of the tab setups and starting to work on the kickstand. The kickstand is going to have to go bigger due to this had a 22-inch tire. We're going from a 22 to a 25 in the front. So that is, it doesn't sound like a lot because it's only about 3 inches, but when you really think about how high up that has to go, and you're recreating the whole setup because of the main fact, you know, the one you guys rusted to hell. So I do have a new pipe for that, which we'll be working on, which will be the new kickstand altogether. So it's basically going to be the exact same thing we got now, just a lot stronger in the sense of like thickness. It's also going to have the exact same setup where it kicks all the way down. If you've had one of these, you know what I'm talking about. So the front end's going to sit up in the air like an old racer kind of bike. So that's where we're at on this one. I do like I said, I really like how this came out, where it's fully welded into the frame now, and should do great. I mean, so hopefully that will do. I hope to be working on the kickstand here real soon, hopefully in this video, so stick around for that. Let's do it. All right, so I don't have enough time to be doing the kickstand and stuff in this video today, but we are going to be talking about how are we going to get this front end, which is off of a 1985 Honda ATC 250 SE, aka the Big Red, onto our Manco Big Cat. The biggest problem I hear is how do you make this fit that when this is smaller than that? Okay, this is you got attached on there your neck, right? Your fork neck. This is your fork tube. Okay, this being smaller diameter, you got to understand a mini bike is not precision. It's not 100% like you would buy like a motorcycle or whatever. It's as close as they could get it in factory, if it's still factory, okay? So what I ended up doing was buying new bearing setups from eBay, okay? These are complete aftermarket parts that you can buy for your big cat. They come in black, which is perfect because that's what I wanted. You have a bottom one, and then you have a top one, which has a compression plate, a half of a race, a basically like a, I don't know, dress ring, your actual bearing, and then you have basically your where your fork tube would come through. Now here's the problem everybody's running into and not quite understanding. So the tube itself is too small, diameter-wise. It needs to go wider, okay? On the ATC 250, it actually tapers, okay? So let's say I take this bottom one. This is a bottom race off of an ATC 250. We're gonna have to cut that eventually. But let's do this for instance, and I slide it and it doesn't, see how it's not tight, it's real loose. You can't have that on here. Because then what's happening is this thing is gonna go, and it's just gonna jimmy on you. It doesn't matter if I tighten this down, this down, this down. All you're gonna do is damage bearings. That's all you're gonna do. So what you're actually looking for is the diameter inside of here that's gonna give you that stiffness. And I mean, dude, you're talking maybe to 1/100th of an inch. I mean, it's got to be really, really close. It can't be super tight because then you're going to damage your bearing races, which is what those bearings actually ride on. And it can't be too small, or you're going to sit there and your whole front end is just going to shake. It doesn't matter if I tighten the triple tree down like crazy, because if this can't compress and that whole front end can't ride on this and go like that, this is pointless. So what I'm working on doing is figuring out the inner diameter for the actual tube that goes through this, which I think the best measurement you could get is if you take out all of that and you actually get the inner diameter of this. And then all you want is just a shade lower than that. Because then this needs to sit on here. And I mean, dude, there is a lot of room in between there. We can't have this, because that's what your front end's gonna be doing. So we're definitely gonna have to come up with something. And basically what I tried doing it before, and it didn't really work. And this is the old neck, and this is thin. This is super thin. But this is the neck off of the old front end, and I cut it and basically stretched it, and then basically I crushed it on here. And it works, but it doesn't work. Because it's still, one, you're taking a round thing and you're going like that to it. So now it's not round anymore, it's oval. So that's what we're taking away from this, is that we're gonna have to measure out this, find an inner diameter pipe that fits that. We're gonna have to figure out the inner diameter for this, and basically that's gonna have to be the wall. So what I would do is I would slide that down this entire shaft, and then I would basically weld it and clean it up, and that would become the new fork setup. That is what my plan is for this front end to make it work. That will be in a later video, not too much longer, because I don't want this to be my last problem. I want this to be out of my way, because we got a headlight that we got to put in. We got all this other stuff that's got to go in. But as of right now, I'm happy with where it's at. I wish it was a little farther, but it's definitely getting there. So On the next video, I'm gonna have to go get a micrometer and stuff and measure all this stuff out and figure out exactly what size sleeve I'm gonna need for this, and basically try to get that on here to actually work. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hit a like, subscribe. I'm sorry this video wasn't like extremely long or anything. Hopefully you guys liked it. And I'll see you in the next video.